Hi, y'all. I'm Shannon Mitchell, a Black millennial entrepreneur and Amazon bestselling publisher, author, and all natural product manufacturer. I'm a champion for your natural self care, sustainable business care, and overall intentional wellness.
Hey, y'all. I'm Christine Gautreaux, a white social justice advocate, an international speaker, embodied coach, published author, and dancing social worker who helps you upgrade yourself and community care.
Together, we are podcasts rooted in the 8 dimensions of wellness and the co-founders of the Women Connected in Wisdom community.
And we like to get together every week for intentional conversations between us and special guests about how to be wise in business, relationships, and wellness. And we root it in the 8 dimensions of wellness. How do we do all this?
Yes, and that's what we're wrapping up today. It's a lot to talk about in one episode. So we usually take it right, a dimension at a time, one day at a time, one breath at a time, one cup of water at a time. And this episode is about wrapping all the resources together that we talked about throughout this season.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was thinking about it before we got on because we were I wasn't here for the first episode. It was you and Coach Co. It was back in July because it was when I was at my dad's celebration of life. And so much has happened, right? This last year. But even this season kind of felt like a new chapter for me and things like that. But it was also a new chapter for our nation. Because it was at the beginning of this that Biden said he wasn't going to rerun and Kamala came forward. And for us as Women Connected in Wisdom, we're not a political podcast, but politics is personal.
Yeah.
And when we talk about our wellness, especially.
Yes. Yes. And what's interesting to me is that it's something that I wrote off so quickly, right? And I did the same thing with Shayla Glow. Obama was being elected. President Obama was being elected, right? And I said, okay, I would have said this was possible. I would have said a Black president is possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said a female president, never happened. I immediately wrote it off. So I'm watching this, I'm like, God, again, do not use absolutes. Excuse me, and so watching the things come to fruition that we thought would never happen, like us together, having a publishing house, we talk about being around authors, but I was around books, so to be surrounded by authors is something I hadn't even considered to dream big enough to encompass, so that's what I think about.
I love that. I have so many thoughts running through my head right now, and my brain's like, because, well, this morning, because we have Monty the dog at our house.
Yeah, I was thinking about Monty.
That haven't heard about Monty, he's a rescue puppy, and he's a Scorgi. He's half Scotty and half Corgi, and ridiculously cute, right? So today I'm the only one working from home. So he's had sad puppy dog eyes because usually there's 2 to 3 of us working from home, and he goes between our offices or the places that we're working. And like he has his very important office dog job, right?
He's great.
Right. So when it's me, he's like, oh, like, where is everybody? Like,
Sorry,
I'm glad
Monty.
to be here. But
shout out to Monty. Monty, thank you so much for your patience and all the hours that you let Christine work with us.
Right. So this morning I had the great idea that I was going to turn on Alexa.
Okay.
Well, so I turned on Alexa to play music of people I adore, but also I might not always listen to their music, but they're being really brave right now and coming out in support, and even though it puts them in the crosshairs.
Yes.
So I was thinking about this because I started with Taylor Swift because I wouldn't consider myself a Swiftie. I like her music, but it's not usually on my playlist, right? So I started playing it just to boost her numbers and give support. And I thought, well, Beyonce's come out now. I love Beyonce. So I switched it to Beyonce and Billie Eilish. And then I was like, I think it's Billie Eilish, right? I think I said that wrong.
I think so.
And then
we've been at work. Sorry, guys.
Right when we were coming on, I'm like, I should be playing Women Connected in Wisdom for Monty, so he hears our voices. But also, like, y'all, for any content creators, when you play our stuff or it is a support, right? It's a support to the work we're doing in the world.
Yeah.
I saw a little thing this week. I hate to go up and down, but I
I'm here
was
for the roller coaster.
watching a testimony
Okay.
about Spotify's
Mm.
founder.
Mhm.
And his original mission was his platform was to uplift musicians. The average musician on Spotify, if they so they could, and I think part of his actual wording was so they could support themselves or pay their bills or something like that.
Okay.
And it came out, there's a VIP level that
Mhm.
definitely does well, which the 3 people I just named are probably in that VIP level.
Mhm.
Um, but the average person who posts content to Spotify, I think they said $12 a month is what they make.
Mhm.
Like, when you talk about what they're bringing in as a platform, it's
Right.
so I don't know. I don't know why to bring all that up, except I'm just really thinking about all this, right?
Yeah.
Because so many people in the world, and especially women,
Mhm.
at gigs, side hustles,
Mhm.
supporting their family,
Yeah.
are creators or doing things.
Mhm.
And even when we think about inflation, that's been a big thing this election. People are like,
Mhm.
"Oh, inflation." Well, when you look at it, it's not the government policies, it's the corporate greed. Like, when you really start breaking it down
Mhm.
and you look at if you follow the trail of the money and where the money is going,
Mhm.
it's just what it made me think about when I saw this hearing for Spotify. And our work is on Spotify and on their platform, right? And we hadn't seen a dime. So, that's where my brain went in that whole section. I was like, "Oh, I should be playing Monty, Women Can Act and Listen, and see if we can see
Mm.
a dime."
Yeah.
Maybe it's only a dime, but
Hey, dimes, pennies, $1,000,000 is made up of pennies, right? Pennies and dimes, 50s, 100, thousands, whatever you wanna make it up of. Yeah.
so you heard it here first on Women Can
Right.
Act and Listen.
Mhm.
Set your Spotify set your, Alexa or whatever device you're
Yeah.
using to play your content while you're
Yes.
working somewhere else.
So
So
your content and like she said, like you said, right? Things that complement it too.
mm,
Because sometimes you don't always watch the same TV show.
right, right.
You don't listen to the same Beyonce song over and over again. And so
Mhm.
I've been having a fun time being able to speak to our experts and get tapped into these resources. And even the idea of somebody's work and attributing it in another area has helped me be better balanced. I love doing that and listening to other podcasts.
Right?
Mhm.
We have the privilege of meeting so many incredible people,
Mm.
right?
Yes.
So, like, we have 171 episodes. So even if we take out our wraps and if we
Mhm.
take out a couple of weeks we've missed for holidays or self-care or family
Yeah.
emergencies,
Yes.
we can probably say we've met and repeats because we have a
Mm.
few repeat guests. We have met over 125
Mhm.
amazing women that are making a difference in the world.
Mm. It's so beautiful.
How fun is that? Right? I love that. So we
Yes.
started this season. Well, you started this season because I was in Texas
Yes.
with
I got your back.
environmental wellness
Yes.
and creating a thriving environment using collaboration and unity
Mm.
with Kathy Baldwin. Tell
And
me
for
more about that.
so fun. For me, this was beautiful for us, right? Because like you said, you were celebrating Lyndon, right? Is
Mhm.
your dad's first name?
Yeah.
And so important for you to have that space. And when we talk about work and women in business and connected in business, it's important for us to have that space when things like that happen. So to be able to provide that for you and help you have that, for me to have somebody that's already here, right? Coach Co has been here, volume one, volume two, in the trenches for accountability, for the small group. She has a small group now. And doing great things. So it was an honor to co-host with Coach Co, especially because she has talk sessions with Co, right? That I've been on and we've done lives and different things. And because of her motivating Monday that she sends out, her Monday motivation, because I love those emails. Sometimes I'll be going through emails like, not going to open it, not going to open it. Oh, Courtney sent her email. Let me read it.
Mhm.
Let me read this one. Um, So talking with Courtney and knowing the work that she does with everything she has her hands in, and Kathy Baldwin talking about, I believe this is Unlearn the Crap TV. And that was talking about the conditioned responses, right? What do you automatically do? How can we unlearn that so that the habits that we have on a daily basis help us maintain our wellness, help us tend to wherever we might have a bruise, you know what I mean? Like things happen in situations and we have to course correct, and that's fine. But sometimes the way that we can automatically do things can be a self-sabotaging habit. And then here we go with the snowball of things that can happen, right? And the opportunity cost that can be lost. And so creating a thriving environment for yourself and being intentional on what you're doing and being authentic and how to do that when things move and when it's an election year and things are different and when the holidays are coming up. So you're about to be around family and it's getting colder, or this is a difficult month in the year for you because of grief and loss and things that are happening. You know, how do you make sure that you're intentional about the environment and the wellness for yourself and those that you care about?
Hmm. Do
Yeah.
you remember one of the key takeaways that you came away from that episode with?
Let me go back to my notes. Let me see. We're talking about July. Hold on, give me a few seconds. Let's see. And
Sorry
y'all,
to
I
put
was
you on the
just,
spot.
I
Yeah,
love
that
it.
was July
Here
24th
we
with
go.
episode 164.
Mm. And I was just thinking about this. She talks about quadruple wins, you know, and you and I were talking. That's why I said that yesterday, because I had been thinking about it. Win-win situations, you know, but
Mhm,
it's a win for us. It's a win for the listeners,
mhm.
right? It's a win for those people who partner with us. It's a win for everybody that it affects, and not in a way to just get the likes for it, but really because I benefited in these dimensions
Right,
by
right.
participating, you know, and that's what we wanna see is win-win-win situations.
When
Um,
she says
I love
quadruple wins, is she
Mhm.
talking about stacking things, or is she talking about the ripple effect?
Right. She said ourselves, our experts, the audience, and the world at large.
Mm.
Mm.
Nice.
Yes, it was beautiful. Right? What else did we talk about? Yeah, where we lose ourselves sometimes, you know, and it happens. I opened that first credit card. I said, "Great. I'm gonna build my credit. This is just gonna be for gas." That's not what happened,
How'd
okay?
that go?
Ended up bailing out somebody else on it. Don't do that, y'all. Ladies,
Right?
don't give your power away, if especially if they didn't ask you, okay? Like, that's what happened.
Ooh,
That's bigger than
whoa.
gas.
You said that. Can I say it again?
Yes.
Ladies, don't give your power away,
Mhm.
especially if they didn't ask for it. Woo, how often do we do that? I'm guilty,
Let me take a sip. Mhm.
right? I think we've been trained to do that.
You think that's what we've been talking about. That's why 171 episodes is not enough and we have to keep going, but it's already been a lot. Like,
Right?
that's why, because of
Right?
the condition automatic. That's what Kathy is talking about. And that's why we had
Right.
her on because it's the environment. One of my professors, she blew my mind when she said that um, a fish doesn't know it's in water
Oh, yeah.
until you
Yeah.
take it out of water. And I said, whole life changed.
The water that we swim in.
You know,
It is
so
the water that we swim in.
yes, and I know we were looking forward to having Laura Ordile on. I'll give her a shout out, even though we didn't have the opportunity to have her as a guest, because she has this resource on hypnotherapy, right?
Mhm.
And it's always been something I had a question about. So I was super excited to bring her on. I was really fascinated in my undergrad studies learning about how much is subconscious
Mhm.
versus the conscious mind, and that we actually have easy access to, you know?
Mhm.
So I know hypnotherapy can be used as a resource and it's helped people. So that was our
Well, I'm
intellectual wellness.
I'm looking forward to having that conversation in the future, and, what I think about then, because that was a week out. from about a week, 10 days out from the celebration of life. And I was thinking at the time, oh, it'll be no big deal. Oh, I'll be back. I'll be like, I don't think we give ourselves, I know I don't give myself enough room
I've been there.
when there's big things. Like, I think we're so trained in this country, especially around grief and loss. Oh, it's 3 days. Oh, you're back at it. And I even think, oh, a week, I'm going to be fine. And
2 minimum.
right, like I think that. Well, then there's different layers, there's
I
different
know.
levels,
And the
right?
spirals,
But
here we go.
all the things, right, about what makes sense. But I just I realized last night I was dreaming. And I, because of exhaustion, because of grief and loss, and my dream, I just haven't been dreaming a lot at night for whatever reasons. But last night was the first night that my dad came to me in my dreams. And I didn't even, it was one of those situations, how grief and loss is funny that you don't automatically recognize what's happening. Like, so I'm having these dreams. They were great dreams. It was, we were talking about stuff. There was butternut squash was involved. Don't ask me why, but he was a great gardener. So I guess there was a big crop of butternut squash, and there was a volleyball team involved. Like, I wrote it down when I woke up, but when I woke up to go to the restroom, I was like, oh, like I hadn't been dreaming about that. And so I wrote it down all real quick. And then I went back to sleep, which I should have gotten up, but it was such a surprise and such a delight. I'm like, oh, I'm going to go back to sleep, see if I can dream some more about it. Did not. I slept late, but I did not dream more about it. I dreamed about other things. But it was fascinating to even have that. He crossed over in May, and this is more than 3 months later. And it's the first time that those kind of things are happening. So it's just noticing even this week how much my energy is back, how much I am re-engaged. But it's been 3 months.
It's for me, it just happened this week too. And I shared with you earlier, it's been 5 years.
Yeah.
And I've had friends who they've had experiences and it wasn't good. So maybe I wouldn't rather not nightmares, I would rather silence for a second, however long. And I was listening, we were talking about music, listening to this song, and the Spotify song came on talking about my God has a telephone, I said, what I want to talk to? I want to talk to my mom, and I was telling Farrell before I woke up, I heard, it's okay, dear, in her voice. And she always called me dear, like, thank you. Like, it's been a long time.
Right?
Yeah. And it's going to be okay. And that's why I love this resource that we were talking to Diane, right? She connected us and found out about this As I Live in Grief podcast. So I was talking about binging it in the messages, definitely binged it. And, it's a thing, just knowing what to do in the situation. And what happened.
Say that resource again.
The podcast As We Live in Grief. Let me triple check it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been great. And we found out about it through a connection, one of our As I Live in Grief, Kathy Gleason. Yeah. Really good. And again, just what do you need in the environment right now? That's what I was sharing Women Connected on the Vixen Voice. And that was just released yesterday, y'all. So listen to the episode. And we were talking about the 8 dimensions of wellness, talking about you, Christine, and how amazing you were, and the Rocket Notebook, and how tech savvy you are. And just being intentional about where you are in your capacity. And that's what I think about intellectual wellness for this season, since we didn't have the opportunity to have Laura on, is my chapter in volume 2 and capacity. And again, if you have 30% today, if you have 3% and you gave 3%, you gave 100%. And if tomorrow is 74 and you can't explain why, we can unpack that. But if it's 74 and you gave 74, you gave 100%. So you had 200% for what you had that week, and just being gentle with yourself and taking deep breaths and making sure that whether it's an election year or, another year, you have what you need on a daily basis.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When I say the term doom piles, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, what is that?
Okay, so doom piles is an ADHD term where it's kind of where we put things in a pile to deal with later. And sometimes that's months later, sometimes that's years later. So then they create like this existential grief and doom because we know we've screwed up and there's things in there. I
Yeah.
have to laugh. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see. I don't know if I can find it real quick without making a lot of noise. I wanted to show you
Make some noise.
when you brought up the rocket books.
Yeah.
You know those trends that go around social media that say, "Tell me you're blank without telling me you're blank."
Yeah, yes.
So, tell me you're ADD
Mhm.
without telling me you're ADD.
Okay.
You ready for this?
Yeah, let me see. Mhm. That would be me. Yeah. I
Rocket
get it.
notebooks. So, for listeners that are listening and not watching, I'm holding up like 5 rocket notebooks. And the reason they're attached to my doom piles is because I would not know where I put one, or I would like, and I'd think, "Oh, I've lost it." And so now that I'm back and I'm getting reorganized and I'm like, sorting out things, I was like, "Oh, I have a lot of rocket notebooks."
And for those of us who don't, are you okay if I unpack it a little bit since we're
Yeah,
talking about it?
absolutely,
So because we're talking
absolutely.
about doom, right? And doom
Right?
is very dramatic. That's a very dramatic word.
Right?
The reason I was so impressed by this notebook was because the point is that you're not supposed to have to buy multiple, right? That they're digital, and so you can send it and have it organized. But if you can't find it, then you need the little thing Neville had. Again, another Harry Potter reference, so you can know what you forgot.
Well, or the thing I'm thinking now,
Mm,
because now I do, and probably why I bought multiples is one for my backpack,
of
one for my
course,
car,
and that's
one
the
for my
thing.
office.
Yes, that's
And
the
so
thing.
now what I need to do is just reset.
Set up your
And I need
station.
to make sure that all my systems and
Mhm.
that notebook, because then I don't have to take a permit. And because
It's
I
important.
don't know about y'all, but like
Mhm.
when I'm doing like right now, I've got just paper among
Yeah,
paper
yeah,
that
yeah,
I note and I doodle and so that's one of the things I love about the Rocket Notebook is that I can just do it with a reusable pen
yeah.
when I'm on.
But
So
this is my thing about somebody, and the
mhm,
the Rocket Notebook actually taught me this, that I
mhm,
love writing on actual paper, you know? That's why I
yeah,
love this notebook. I was showing April your notebook that you bought me, that I write all my speaking notes in, um, because I love writing on actual paper. So I missed that when I was writing on the Rocket Book. So, sometimes the tool works at that time, and sometimes it's for later, and sometimes it's okay to have multiple because you're setting up your workflow and the way that works. And stations like that they do help. And a lot of times we compartmentalize things, and we do that with grief sometimes. And next, I want to go to Cindy Burns because she was sharing a resource for this. Good grief and finances is what we were talking
mm,
about for financial wellness. And when I say a spotlight was shown, spotlight was shown on my finances when my mom was sick. And I realized how simple it would have been to say, okay, I don't know today when I can come to talk about life insurance. But yes, let me look out a month or 2 weeks and see when makes time and I can go then. If you don't follow up with the meeting, you're not going to have the meeting. But if you don't have that meeting, you might not have what you need later on. And what does that look
right,
like? And so not only with insurance, life insurance and health insurance, but just things being organized in general, is what I started thinking about around that season. You know, it's not just enough to be cute and look good. If your life is disorganized and chaotic, like that's not cute, and nor is it healthy. Like, let's be healthy. Let's be well.
right. Well, and I love that you not only think about that, but then you're like, what skill do I need to make that work in my life and to help other people?
Yeah.
And you've since gotten licensed as an insurance agent, so you can have those conversations with people.
Well, yeah.
So I love that. I think that's really awesome.
Thank you. And that's when we talked with this week, or excuse me, this season with Jacqueline Cotton and redefining success. What does that mean? If you're defining it from a financial standpoint, again, I might have been going backwards to step down from a salaried kitchen manager position that I worked to open up a new location up, to get promoted through the ranks, to step back down to be a server. You might think that that's regression, but to get time with my mom when she was sick, when I didn't know her for 12 years, that was
Mhm.
wealth, to have the option to make that choice and to still be able to take care of everything. And then to be a business owner, right? And people think because you own businesses that uh, that's success. But what's your definition of success? And getting out of business, just like things that we want to be intentional about getting out of life. That's what I was thinking about with this episode with Jacqueline Cotton.
Did I read Walt Whitman's success on that episode, or did I just think about it?
Do you have it pulled up right now?
I was gonna pull it up.
Yeah, pull it
Um,
up. I don't remember, but read it. And if you did, I'm sure I'll remember.
Hang on. Keep
Yeah.
talking, and I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah.
Because
And
it's a poem I had above my desk for years,
mm-hmm.
and that I think about when I think about the word success.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And really, it comes from where you are in the moment, right? Like a single person's success might not be the same thing as a mother's success. A mother's success might not be the same thing as um, an Olympian success. And those dimensions can overlap sometimes, So really checking in with yourself and knowing where you are and where you want to go is the best way to gauge that.
right.
What do you think?
I said Walt Whitman earlier, but that's
Mhm.
not true. It's
Okay,
Ralph
what was
Waldo
it?
Emerson. It's what is success?
Mm,
To laugh often and
mm,
to love much, to win the respect of intelligent people and the affection of children, to earn the appreciation of honest critics and endure the betrayal of false friends, to appreciate the beauty, to find the best in others, to leave the world a bit better, whether by a healthy child, a garden patch, or a redeemed social condition. To know even one life has breathed easier because you have lived. This is to have succeeded.
mhm. The only thing I would say about the earning the respect is important.
hmm
I
To
think it's
win the respect of intelligent people.
right,
Yeah.
right. Thank you. To win the respect. I think respect is important, but I think it's important to come from a place of validation and not for validation, right?
Right.
And
Right.
that is where I think about spiritual wellness and again, redefining success. Because
hmm
even though in my chapters I talk about unmitigated financial freedom, it's not just for the financial freedom here for us to have more than 2 days off when somebody passes away, right? It's for eternal freedom. It's for joy and family togetherness and being able to relax into those things, Um, so that's the only thing I would say, but I like the rest of it.
Right. Right.
Yeah. 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 What
Well,
is
it is one of those things that, you know, in the culture we live in,
mhm,
especially the comparison, and I always say comparison is a thief of joy, but
mhm,
sometimes it's hard not to, right? And think, oh, this person has this, or their bank account looks like that. And not that we know what other people's bank account looks like, but
right.
sometimes we can guess.
Yeah. Right, right, right.
Um, I think about that. Like to me, when we talked about that episode about success and
Mhm,
when I define for myself, like, what does it mean um, to me to have a successful day? And, so much of mine is around meaningful work.
yeah,
Like, what is meaningful to me?
right.
And I keep seeing these things that, I mean, and I'm sure it's because of just going through this with my dad, but, we always think we have more time with the people we love. And I'm in my 50s. So say I have 30 years, and it's probably a decent average because I'm 54. So that would be 84, give or take a few years, right? Probably more, but 30 good years. Hey, y'all, this is a great place to take a break, take a deep breath, and hear from our awesome sponsors that make Women Connected in Wisdom podcast possible. Shannon, we are so grateful that Shayla Glow is the sponsor of the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. And I wanted to take this moment to ask you, when you think about the people who use Shayla Glow, who are we talking about?
That's a good question. I think about 3 groups really. One, the group that's removing hair, right? So whether you're using laser hair removal, waxing, shaving, you got to make sure that you're putting back what you're taking out. The second group, I think about those with dry skin and the problems that that might cause, right? The scars, itching, burning, whatever the situation is, you definitely need all 3 steps, right? The exfoliation, making sure you're taking the dead skin cells off. The oil, putting in the moisture, and then the shea butter with the aloe, sealing it, helping you heal. Those things help both groups, right? And third, for the third group is those with chronic illness. You know, the story is personally from cancer and different diseases that our population is dealing with on a daily basis throughout families as individuals. So I'm thinking about my mom and my grandmother and those around me with the same generational ties, right? And what positive, healthy habits we can start to make sure that we're maintaining our wellness, especially because the skin is like the cape, the exterior, the shield for your immune system. So with COVID, we have to be intentional about covering ourselves. And those are the groups I think about.
I love it. And you know what else I love about your product? It's all natural, handmade, and it smells great, y'all. So
yes,
yay.
Tested. Yes, esthetician tested and approved. Yes. What about you? When you think about your company, what groups of people do you think about?
Well, you know, I work with individual coaching clients. I work in community classes and with corporate teams. And with all of them, I use a strength-based, embodied approach to help folks connect with themselves and access joy, reduce burnout, and build resilience. You know, especially during these times, I think we need it. I think we need all the hashtag partnership power we can get.
Yes.
If I only see my kids, who are grown now, once a month, that's not a lot of visits, right? Or if I only see my favorite aunt once a year or twice a year, like when you start looking at it like that, it's like, oh, we have to shift some priorities for, like you were talking about, having that freedom to go camping with people you adore, or to take the weekend off, or to, you know.
Yes. Missed the shift for the baby shower. That's what I was just thinking. I accidentally picked up this shift and I was a server, right? So I said, wow, I can't believe that I just picked up this server shift and my best friend is having her baby shower.
Well,
And I said, you know what? Papa Do should have missed me that weekend. I should have got written up. I should have been on my best friend's baby shower. I just realized that the other day. And it's okay. And we talked about it and she loves me and it was fine. And, you know, probably had to work, whatever it was, and the reasons that we give, you know, but
yeah.
that's
Well,
why
and in a late capitalist society, which we are in the United States, we're taught that. We're taught to put work above other things.
Mhm.
And I think I struggle with this sometimes because I love what I do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So then that makes it even more like I love to work. I could, yeah, I have to be very careful not to be a workaholic
Yeah, me too.
because I look up and I've had great conversations. I've had great, you know, and it's 8:00 at night, 9:00 at night. And oh, I want to get on social media and post one more thing or two. Like,
Yeah, of course.
stop.
Yes, yeah, you have to. Yeah, yeah, of course.
That part of being in balance with it, right?
Yeah. Yep. And that's why I talk about the planners. I talk about the time blocking. Like I didn't even realize I was saying yes so much. My professor, this Professor Donovan, she had to tell me to stop saying yes. I didn't realize that that's all I was saying was yes for different projects and to make sure, and our guests remind me of this, to put my self-care in there. You know, if I'm going to put all these different jobs and piecing together the income that I need to make this week or this month, I'm also going to put in the facial. Don't forget the facial. don't forget the water, don't forget the stretching and the exercising. And I had been missing my checklist. I just recently printed it out again, and I'm realizing, oh yeah, you don't have this built into every day. You are not taking this time in the morning and it's okay that you go over there and you realize the habit is non-existent, but let's work on that. It's okay.
Well, and I mean, we're not machines, right? We're not
And that,
robots.
no, don't want to
So
be.
I think a check-in with ourselves on the regular or with an accountability buddy to
Mhm.
really look and say, how's that going? Right? Like maybe you did. Like, I mean, I did yoga for 2 years straight one time. Loved it. Loved my practice
Yeah,
and did it faithfully every morning. And then I had a cycling accident
your
and I
wrist, right?
really injured my wrist and I
Yeah, I
could
remember.
not do my practice and I got out of the habit.
Of
And I've
course.
never like I'll do
Yeah.
yoga occasionally, but I've never gotten back to that level that I was at. So I had to look for other things because, for a while I was just telling myself, "Oh, you've got a yoga practice." No, you don't have a yoga practice if you haven't been on the mat in a month. It's not a practice.
I hear
That's what
you.
you used to have one.
Right.
So
Yep.
and I think just that really checking in with ourselves and what is working in this season
Mhm.
and what do you love? Like, right?
Mhm.
Like, what is working for you for your self care in this season?
Like I said, the checklist and the facials, because I was talking about the rhythm of facials, the 3 facials, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I was on it, and then it started being less consistent. And same thing for the checklist. Hadn't had it printed out, okay? And things like me moisturizing my hair. So I've been cutting the parts of my locks that are kind of thin. And I think part of it is because of the bleach from the color when it was red, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been thinking about, have I been taking care of my hair the way that I said I would? I told my locks I would dye them, but they wouldn't dye, and I would moisturize my hair because it's part of what I've been working on through my natural hair journey, right? Taking
Mm-hmm.
care of it, whole story, because it was different when I was loose natural. I wasn't
Right.
detangling or cutting my ends. So I've been cutting the weak parts. And at first, I hated continuing to cut my hair, but I realize now it's like the perfect way, right? Um, but I hadn't been moisturizing it as consistently as it probably needed to be moisturized. I was doing something else, which is patting my hair, right? And it's funny because I didn't realize how much we did this, or I did this, until we went on vacation with his mom. And I realized I'm probably making a lot of noise doing this. And I'm so used to doing that instead of treating the root problem, which is your scalp is telling you it's dry. It's probably dry because of the weather change, because of the environment change, because you have more hair now. So you have to put more on it. And oh yeah, duh, like, don't forget to grease your scalp, not just water and oil, but your hair used to like grease, and adding those things back in. And so again, me with the checklist, that works for me because it takes it out of, I have to remember all these things to, yeah, I can say, yes, I did it. Yes, I did it. Yes, I did it. And stay in rhythm. Some people that might overwhelm, and that's okay. Do it will work in the way that works for you. Like, you don't have to add, if it adds stress and you're anxious trying to be perfect to, that's what I got to, you don't have to do that. But for me, that's what's been working. Yeah.
What bubbles up from your story for me is the
Mm.
noticing,
Yeah.
right? The checking in with your body and noticing what you need,
Hmm. And
right?
Shayla Glow helps me with that. And not
Mhm.
because I sell the product, not because I make it, but because I need it. Again, I would have had to smoke with Sell
Mhm.
Some Blue because my skin is a certain way. I
Mhm.
thought I'm out of practice, Christine. My car ran out of gas the other day. I'm talking about cut off on me and was rolling backwards when I got like out of gas. Okay. I got in bed, message. Okay. I got in bed and didn't put Shalo Glow on. I could not sleep. I was super dry. I'm twisting and turning. Your skin, like, it literally needs it. And
Mhm.
when I'm doing that, I'm checking in. I got a bruise. Oh yeah, you did open the door and the car door hit you, but you forgot because you kept going. This is the time to
Yeah.
check in. Make sure you have what you need every day.
You know what running out of gas symbolizes for me when it happens? Because it happens to me
Yeah.
occasionally, that I'm literally out of gas. Like,
Right.
emotionally and physically, and my car's just reflecting the fact that I haven't refueled, right?
And that's my law. I talk about it all the time. So I'm like, and so again, here we go. If I'm there and I let myself get there to be running all this stuff, and thankfully I was on the way to the gas station. It was literally right there. Like but I already knew that you needed to get gas before. So I've been pouring in. I started doing my facials, right? I started drinking my water, drinking my tea. Now I did have my gummy bears, right? And so I said yes to myself there. And we could talk about the physical wellness that we talked about this season with alchemy, right? And remembering, like, what are those stress triggers? Sometimes it might be something tension in our body, like we need to stretch something out. Sometimes it might be, why am I drinking more sangria, right? Why am I eating more junk food? Why am I not eating the vegetables? And noticing, like, okay, you still need to make sure that you're on, Apple Watch, excuse me. Y'all, I usually don't have this Apple Watch on, right? It was in the drawer. That's another story. It's from my ex, okay? But we're gonna stay on this story, okay?
Wait, we want to tea about that.
Hey, remove the emotional attachment and use the tools that best fit you. Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Well, so are you open to a suggestion?
Yes, please.
When you swipe up on it, you can put it into theater mode or airplane mode.
Okay, let me go out of this message.
Yeah, you just click on it and then you swipe up.
You see what I'm talking about, y'all? She's tech savvy. Hold on. It looks like it's going to my photos.
Well, it's from your home screen that you swipe up.
Okay.
And then you either hit the little happy sad face, which is the theater zone, or the airplane mode. And either that'll stop the notifications.
I wonder if I go to settings, airplane mode.
Yeah.
Thank you. That makes sense. Boom.
And then just remember to turn it back off, because me, I leave mine on do not disturb.
Somewhere else. Right. I need something to help me find my watch. Like, case in point, what I was talking about, right? This is why I was impressed. The text, and we just fit together. You have strengths, I have strengths. Jacqueline helps people redefine success. Cindy helps people with grief and finances, and we get.
Can I just say, if there's anybody out there that can help me start my workouts on my watch sooner than I can, I'd love that feedback, because I
say more. What do you mean?
Well, because there's an activity button on our watches that it will track, right? And there's a way that it just tracks it, or there's a way that you can click a button and say, "Hey, record my outdoor walk."
Okay.
And I would say 1 out of 10 times it works for me. I don't know if it's what I'm saying. So I just get frustrated and just walk. And then halfway through the walk, it'll come on and say, "Hey, I see
you look like you're exercising." Right.
Hey, you want me to record your walk? I'm like,
I did
ask you that 15 minutes ago.
Right. No, I'm with you. Have you watched, I always have this rule. Have you watched 3 YouTube videos on it?
Oh no. That's your age versus mine.
Really?
3? You watched 3?
Because if I would call at least 3 people, if this person doesn't know, and I have to call somebody else. So actually, let me break it down. This what I'll
call people. I've been messing with this for like 6 months, and I just said something for the first time about it.
I told you this junk was in the drawer. It was only because I had broken my screen, shattered my phone screen. How many times? 5, literally. I was going on 7. It was crazy. And I was in there and they were changing the screen, and I was thinking about my watch. So stay in communication, but we always talk about using the tools that we have, and I'm intentional about not having stuff just sitting there and circling back to what works. And that reminds me of Christina's work. She was talking about transform your trauma to purpose, power, and prosperity.
Yeah, she was our episode 168 on emotional and mental wellness. That was a powerful episode.
Dr. Fontana. I keep thinking about what she was talking about, those stupid flashcards. And I'm like, they weren't stupid, right? If it got you from not loving yourself to loving yourself, then priceless.
And the affirmations, right?
Right. For you and doctors, like, that's huge. And that's what I thought about, how we can still, like, have a certain relationship with what helps us and feel like it should have been something else and it should have been, but if that's what it was, then that's okay.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
we
still
always
unwash
talk
it.
about not shoulding ourselves, right?
Yeah.
If the words you should have, it's a good indicator to pause and be like, we don't should
Yeah.
ourselves.
And it's important to have accountability, right? That's not
Yeah.
saying that we won't have the conversation, but to ruminate about it, to make somebody feel
Right.
anywhere between guilt, shame, and blame, like those things aren't going to be conducive to healthy processing, letting go, and transforming the trauma, right, into purpose. And that's what I think about us doing when you talk about making art, you know, with
Out of
Aunt
what
Joan's,
happens to us.
Aunt Joan's transition, and you know, me and wanting my mom to be better connected to wellness and resources, and what I would have wanted it to look like for her in a perfect, what I had in my mind as a perfect picture, right? But now helping other women get connected to the resources that they need when they need it in different dimensions has been beautiful.
Yeah. That makes me think about Talia Bombala, who did the confidence and assertiveness in healthy relationships with social wellness. Her fire and energy in that conversation was really powerful.
I kept wanting to say mic drop. Say it again, Talia. Hold the
Right?
whole show. I was like, this is gonna be
Right? It was good. It was good. We
So,
really did have a good season.
and that's every season, Christine. That's all of our seasons. You know, the ladies have really been amazing. And I love hearing their stories of how we've had that impact, you know, in ways that were not expected. It's not about us trying to be like, oh, we're the reasons that this impact is happening, but definitely have had the goal to get the resources to the people that need it. And super excited to hear that that's what we've been doing. Yeah. Yeah. When you think about 171 episodes as we wrap the episode, right? With confidence and assertiveness and using your voice, what would you say has been coming up for you after all the work that we've done with Women Connected in Wisdom?
Just think about why we started the podcast, right? The power of connection, the power of uplifting women's voices. Think about what's currently going on in our country, like what some of the laws are being proposed to take women back and to not have their voice, right?
Right.
Or bodily autonomy. And I saw a picture on social media the other day that talked about women in Afghanistan less than 50 years ago. Looked like women in America, going to school, being educated, and now they're in burqas and covered up, and their voices are not. They just recently made it illegal in that country for women to sing or speak or I want to make sure I get that right. Was that Afghanistan or Iran? It was one of those countries. I'll find the article and put a link to it. But I don't take that for granted. I don't take for granted that in the United States, you and I had an idea. We got excited about it. We did pause it for a week due to a United States insurrection, but we then started it. And we have the power to get on every week and to talk about what we want to talk about.
Yes.
So I think about that. I think about not taking that for granted.
Yes.
I think about continuing to uplift women's voices, especially women that are considered to be in the margins and that may not have had the opportunity. I think about the hundreds of thousands of women who have written books or who have something to contribute, who I was on Threads the other day, and this incredible Black woman she talked about her books and the fact that she'd won these awards and she'd done all this, and no major publisher and she has major, so like from all the metrics, a publisher should have reached out to her and said, we want your book and your story. Crickets. So like I think about her and I'm like, ooh, I want her to come on Women Connected Wisdom and tell her story. And I think about, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that we get to do this every week, that we've had people tell us the power of some of our guests that have had on them, the power of becoming authors through Connected and Wisdom Press and getting their stories and their voices out there. And yeah, that's what I think about.
Yeah, and
What
that's what
about
I was
you? What do
thinking
you think
about.
about?
If with what you were saying, if she wants to do a book, yeah, I'm thinking about Connected in Wisdom Press, and it's definitely not lost on me the opportunity for the access, right? I definitely believe that we are made for such a time as this. Um, what are the odds? You know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy that I can't help but believe that it's strategically orchestrated, to have happened on purpose. So, I definitely count it an honor to do it, to be able to do it. And thank you so much for our listeners and our everybody who downloads and shares and uplifts us and prays for us through the transparent things that we've shared on the podcast, because we've shared a lot.
Yeah.
And yeah, connected through our stories and resources.
Yeah. And speaking of resources, y'all, if you live in the United States, and we have listeners from all over the world, but for our local listeners in Georgia and the United States, um, yesterday was voter registration day. Make sure you're registered to vote for the upcoming presidential election, but not just the presidential election, your down ballot elections that affect us locally. And so in Georgia, the registration deadline that you have to be registered is Monday, October 7th. So it is open to where you can receive your mail-in ballot if you are not going to be home for the elections. And we'll be talking about early voting in the next couple of weeks because we want to get out there and vote.
Yes. Yes. Excited for the opportunity. Really, I think about this question that was asked when I was an RA at Kennesaw. And he said, I don't know if I've told you this story. Would you go, if you had the opportunity, would you go in 100 years in the future or the past? And I said, the future. He said, well, that was quick. How'd you answer so quickly? I said, do you know where I'm from? Birmingham, Alabama. They call it Bombingham, Alabama. Like, I don't know what the future holds, but I'm going forward, baby. Okay. Like, and
Right?
let's try to make it a safer place.
Right?
Mm,
Absolutely. For our friends and our neighbors and our loved ones, and absolutely.
their futures. Should
So,
we?
what you thinking about wisdom in action today?
Let's see. Huh. It's wrapping season 20. Let's see. I like to be intentional about it. I like to not just give an answer. I think this is what I'll say, because I told you I started this wisdom and action notebook, right? And this
Mm-hmm.
TEDx notebook I got since she got
Mm-hmm.
me that opportunity. And last week was listen to the bird song. And when I was
Mm-hmm.
doing it's beautiful this week. And when I was doing my devotion one day, it was talking about coupling prayer with your time outside. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we talk about that, but I don't think I'd ever intentionally thought about those two things together. So my wisdom in action as we wrap season 20 is pray and be mindful. Uh-huh. Yeah. And just think about where we are, celebrate all of our wins that we've had for 20 seasons, and at you know, the crossroads of different transitions. I feel like a lot of people are there. Like, I don't know if I've talked to anybody in detail and they're not right there, so
Right?
the transition into the fall and the holiday season, I just want to pray and be mindful and super grateful and
Awesome.
thankful to God for the opportunity to be able to use our gifts and be here with you. What about you?
Mm. This is my wisdom in action this week. Yeah, I mean, the one that keeps coming up for me is hashtag rest. Like, I'm getting a lot of work done and I'm resetting my systems. But what I need to be mindful of is my rest. So I'm mindful of getting all the stuff done. So I think mine is #remember to rest.
And again, like, I love that, Christine. And that's what I think about with the intellectual wellness this season. We thought we were going to have it. We didn't have it. And that was okay. And it was okay because of where we were, and if sometimes you need to rest in certain areas, that's the part of doing something. In that part, like, rest has got to be on the schedule, or we know life, our bodies, the timelines will make you pause. It will make you sit down.
Right.
And I don't like anybody making me do anything. So, I'm with you on that one. So I would rather just enjoy a nice hammock swing and go out to the mountains and like do it in a fun way. So enjoy the rest, and I'll join you in that too. I'm gonna add it to my list, so
I love it.
Thank you so much for 20 amazing seasons. Thank you to our expert guests who joined us this season. Join us in community. I know we could always talk longer than an hour, right? We could always talk to our guests longer than an hour. So continue the conversation with us on LinkedIn. Let us know what you took away from season 20 and how it benefited you in your wellness. Is there anything else you wanted to say, Christine, before we wrap up?
I think that was really well said. And we'll put those links in our show notes. And so if you're driving, don't worry about it. You can find us online. Follow us on social media. We love to be connected.
Yes. In the meantime, don't forget,
be well,
be wise, and be whole. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Thanks for listening. This has been the Women Connected in Wisdom podcast. On air live on Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern via Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be part of the conversation and get connected at womenconnectedinwisdom.com.